got it to Zurha. Davies Uniac. LDU launches long. Look out for the Kangaroos. It'll land in the square. Howe knocked it down. Brendan Cox. And it's a one-point game. O'Meara was there. Brendan Cox again. Toe to it. Can they rush it behind? No. Kangaroos keep it out. Need to send it long. They're wanting a hero. The high kick to the square. They all compete. Kangaroos clear it. Will it go out? That might be deliberate. The Kangaroos hold on.
Great scenes over in the West and the North Melbourne Footy Club after a tough couple of years, only 2 wins in 2022, 2 from 2. It's an extraordinary impact that the new coach Alistair Clarkson's had. Todd Goldstein, a 296-game super veteran of the North Footy Club. We had him on last year. And Goldy, as I say, welcome to you with the greatest respect. We weren't sure we would ever get to see you again, but we had to get you back to talk about what's taken place over the 2 weeks. Welcome and congratulations on the weekend.
No, thank you. It's always much easier to come to these things when you're winning.
Exactly.
Sure.
In your own words, I mean, you've been around long enough. You've had coaches, you've seen it all. You've had moments with this coach in this, and we'll talk about the start of the year where you were left out for the first game. What's he brought to this footy club that has most struck you?
Yeah, I think it's the stability he's brought and how he genuinely wants it to be one club. And I think a lot of footy clubs talk about that and want that to be, but how you actually implement that is different. And the way he's knocked down walls, he's opened up the footy club to the whole.
Well, you mean
club.
Physically knocked them?
He's physically got walls knocked down, got the whole joint moved around, invites everyone, whether it's membership or anything like that.
He's a bit of a nutcase.
And yeah, he's got his own energy that's hard to deny, that's for sure.
His investment in the playing ground, I mean, he'll turn up on your door. I don't know whether he has turned up on your doorstep yet, but I mean, that's... He feels so connected that in his own mind he can just come to you at any time because that's the way he thinks that you should be. I mean,
he builds really good relationship with everyone, and you know whether you're 45th on the list or top of the list, you've got the same relationship. He gives everyone the same hugs, the same pats on the back. He's very affectionate as a coach. I don't think I've had a coach quite as affectionate as Clarko is. So it is definitely a different feel.
So when the chat was had leading into round one, how did that go about, and how did you receive that?
Yeah, look, it was very honest, and it's always hard as a senior player to have that conversation. But for me, he was open and honest. The whole pre-season, you know, they were tossing up whether they wanted to go with 1 or 2 rucks, and understanding where this group's at, I sort of knew that if we went with 1, it may not go as well for me. But you know, just the way the game was going to look like against West Coast. They wanted to go with 1. He told me why. He went through it with me. I understood. I didn't like it. No one does like being told you're not playing. But you know, it was clear of what I need to go. I need to go back and play good footy. For me, it was a good chance to get some fitness up. And you know, hopefully, my hope was next week coming up against Freo with 2 rucks that we'd go with 2 ruckmen. Obviously, it turned out differently, but that was what I hoped. That it was never door shut. You're not playing. You know, we're just going down the youth. It was no. We only want to go with 1. This is what we want from Tristan this week, and that's why we're going with him. And you know, I was very understanding.
And what about the prowling the sidelines now? Is that a case of him just going over and spending time in America and watching the American football coaches?
It's more like the EPL.
The EPL,
It might have been his time with Ange that he picked up, because he did go over Scotland and spend some time with Ange, so it might be that. But I think the ability for him just to be able to get the message to the players, and you know, he was very vocal every time I was off. He'd always be coming over and checking in and giving you bits of information to pass on to the group. So I think it's just gets rid of the messenger to a point a little bit.
So what about the mechanic, the game style, like the plan? So, you know, famously rejigged the whole thing at Hawthorn back in the day and brought in his cluster and his zone defence, which was, you know, as revolutionary as anything in footy. I mean, how hard is he selling how he wants you to play? Yeah,
he's very, very clear. From day one, he was very clear on how he wanted us to play, what he wanted to look like, and he's coached that to the nth of a degree. And all the coaches understand that. Every drill we do is positioned to make sure that the boys are taking something out of it for our game plan. So he's very clear on that, and I think the boys have really appreciated just the stability of knowing this is how he wants to play. If you want to play a game, this is how we're going to play, and you need to be able to perform to get a game. 295
games you would have had at that stage. Did you learn? Was it a learning? Was he saying things to you that you went, geez, I hadn't thought like that?
Yeah, I think he said things that you go, oh yeah, that makes sense. And he is very similar to the way Brad Scott has coached. So, you know, he may use different terminology and things like that, but there are a lot of similarities there. So it wasn't earth-shatteringly new, but it was very, very simple, very, very clear, and sometimes that's the best game plan.
What about the environment? So is there a lot of classroom time How much is dedicated to the dynamic of the group? Bringing boys together.
We spend a lot of time going through meetings and going through vision and trying to upskill everyone.
Yep.
Equally amount on the ground, trying to actually work it and make mistakes, because the best way that any player is going to learn from a training session is to make mistakes and review it and then go through it like that. So they're very big on that, and he's also very big on spending time as a group. So there's cut out time, making sure that everyone has time. Coaches as well as medical team all have time to have lunch together and spend time and just chat and get to know each other. Learn each other's stories, and more invested you become in each other, the more invested you are in the footy club, and the more invested you are on the field.
Well, talking about learning stories, you've seen a lot of young players come and some go, but one that's stuck and you've seen from the start is LDU, and you must look at that player and what he's become now and be so impressed with the consistency that he's displaying week in, week out.
Yeah, I'm incredibly proud of where he's come from. Obviously, when he first got in there, he had a lot to learn and was struggling to pick up how we wanted to play and things like that. But he has become the ultimate professional. He's got someone like a Jai Simpkin and Jack Zeeble and Ben Cainjan around him that are teaching him how to do these things. But the commitment he's made to his footy over the last 18 months, you've seen it come out, and it's so good to see him get that reward, because he's a genuine star of the competition.
How good is he? Give us.
Oh, he'd be in the top 10 players of the competition at the moment. The way he's back end of last year and the way he started this year, there's very, very few midfielders.
And the ones you've played with?
He's right up there. In terms of, obviously, Cunners is one of the best inside mids, but I think Luke's ability to get the ball on the inside and then explode out, I mean, you liken it to someone like Chris Judd, the way you can burst out of the contest, and that's that explosive speed that's hard to teach.
Yeah.
And it's something that comes naturally to him.
The numbers suggest he's the most damaging centre bounce midfielder in the competition. He's great to watch. You mentioned Ben Cunnington. It must have given you guys, the whole club, an enormous lift that Ben Cunnington's been able to get back into the team, back healthy again, and obviously having an impact.
Yeah, it takes such a load off the other midfielders. It means Jai Simpkin can play a little bit more on the outside rather than having to be the bull inside for us. It frees up a Hugh Greenwood to be able to use his marking and his running as well. So just the flexibility that we've got to work off, having Ben there as our focal point, lifts everyone up, and he's probably the best handballer in the competition. So he just brings his teammates into it. His ability to either hit a 20-metre on point or even just a 2-metre handball to give someone space.
As the game has shifted and changed, how has the ruck role and the demands of it shifted and changed for you?
Yeah, look, it's changed a lot since I got there. Obviously, when I first got here, you weren't really expected to anything other than take a hit out, and if you win the hit outs, that was fine. Then you had to start getting more involved, and I think you just have to be another midfielder now. That the expectation is that you're helping the ball once the ball hits the ground, that you're that fifth midfielder or fourth midfielder just to come and help and extract the ball. So it's changed a lot in terms of the ability, and I think everyone now can run, so it's becoming harder and harder. You have to find other strings to your bow. You can't just outrun everyone now, because they can all got the fitness now. And
Harry Sheasel, he's burst onto the scene. Have you seen a young player in only his second game have a big impact in your career?
Not in his second game, not in his first game either. Not to have 34 touches and look as composed as he did. And I think last week's game he was really good using the footy. This week's game, the ability to actually come back and be really good in a contest. Like, I know he chopped me out with Luke Jackson at one point, so he had no qualms about going into a pack against a much bigger opponent. So
he kept the ball in.
Yeah, just the composure that he's an incredibly impressive individual, and I know he's got a lot of pressures coming from his background, coming outside of footy, and he's been very focused on wanting to concentrate on footy, and he's such a level-headed kid.
What's your expectations of Taron Thomas? We know that he's been twice now had to be removed from the footy club. From a leadership point of view, what are your dealings with it, and what's your expectations?
Yeah, look, it's hard, not being a leader in the leadership group, so to say. I haven't had an in-depth into what's been put in place for him, but the expectation is that he goes and gets help, and we all hope that he learns a lot from this experience, and he's able to come back to the footy club, and he's learnt from it, and he comes back an even better person, and we know what he can do on field. But it's not just about your on-field stuff, and the club support him as much as they can. It's obviously a tricky one to be involved in, but I think the best thing for him now is to get away and really work on himself.
Quick selection one, Wardlaw, does he play this week if the skipper's out?
I think he might struggle to get in this week. I think he only played 3 quarters on the weekend in his first game back. They've been really careful with his hamstrings.
How good is he?
He could be a very good player. We haven't seen
Keeping a lid on it.
We haven't seen a lot of him because he's been managed so much. So he had a couple of hamstring scares early, so they've really managed him. So we haven't actually seen a lot of him, but I watched some of the practice match on round 1 of VFL, and he looked very, very good. So he was going to be another good player.
The Clark out a little bit extra. The Clark out a little bit extra fire in the build-up this week against his old club in Hawthorn.
We haven't quite spoken about Hawthorn just yet. I think he's just tempering himself. He'll get exhausted if he starts on Monday, that's for sure.
Hey, mate, game number 300 just around the corner as well. So we love having you in here. We love having a chat with you, and it's great that your footy club's back being competitive and relevant again after a really tough couple of years. So thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Garry.